Good morning, folks. How are you guys this morning? Hope everybody is doing well. Get my screen sharing going here. All right, what's up? I'm gonna really try to not jack this up. Immune, who's here with us regularly. Thanks for joining. Mauricio, what's up? Navy Plum, Twest Best, Sensu Bean, like the Dragon Ball reference. It's like one of my favorite animes growing up as a kid. So it's good to have you guys with me here this morning, Tuesday, as we head into the big Apple event today with them talking about the new iPhone, a new iWatch, and potentially some new AirPods, and who knows what other surprises they might have in store for us. Also interested to see if we get any updates on their AR. I guess you could call it an AR headset, AR VR headset, the Apple Vision Pro. Be interesting to see if they talk any more about that. And who knows, maybe they will finally jump aboard the AI bandwagon now that they've seen what it can do for even pretty what would I say? Pretty, heavily bought tickers like Tesla can find even more buying when they start getting some of that AI supercomputing hype and Morgan Stanley upgrades them and all that. We saw what kind of reaction Tesla had to that news yesterday. Does seem to be kind of stuck in this supply zone up here, but from a trade plan standpoint, last time we looked at Tesla, our entry was way down here at 248.35, which we gapped up well over that. We're actually really kind of closed out extended hours trading on Friday over that big gap up on that Morgan Stanley news. But yeah, we've seen it break out and hit targets over that level a few times, and now we are well over that. So I think from here, we would want to come up with a totally new plan and approach to trading Tesla that I think would include getting through this supply zone if that's what we want to go after or try to continue to ride this momentum. But say there's also a pretty decent fair value gap to the downside and balance that could see us pulling back to somewhere in this 265.63, 266.76 range. That could potentially be a good dip buy on Tesla, in my opinion, just as things stand right now. But as always, the picture changes as time goes on. So let me get some coffee in because I am dragging a little bit this morning for some reason. I just could not stay asleep last night. I guess I was too excited to do this live stream with you guys this morning. All right, so let's take a look at some of the trade plans that, actually, I'm sorry. Before we do that, let's take a look at ES real quick. Where do things stand there? I've had to go through and adjust and make some tweaks to my chart because the contracts rolling over to the current quarter contracts from what was ESU 2023 now to ESZ 2023, which can shift things around on the chart quite a bit. And so, there's a couple of different sort of strategies I have to help kind of get everything back lined up the way it should be. But I did go through, check my supply and demand zones this morning, so those should be pretty good. And I think I did a good job of sort of coming up with a methodology of how to adjust my support resistance levels to the new contracts. So, kind of a little bit of a mixed bag here. And the reason why I say that is really two things. We've got a decent, couple of supply zones overhead, especially this one where we kind of have an overlap of these supply zones. And this looks like it's going to be a really tough one to break with it, the top of that supply zone being up here at this 4609 level. That's a key weekly support resistance level. You can see we broke above it. We were holding it for a while, and then once we broke below it, any back tests have been stiffly rejected, and we've yet to really get another back test since then. And we keep kind of testing lower and lower key levels here. But that being said, things do seem to be trying to push to the upside. Don't love this chart pattern that I'm kind of seeing right here. Let me hide these indicators just for a second so maybe it's a little bit easier to see. But this looks like a pretty classic inverted cup and handle to me. That doesn't really mean much. So what's a cup and handle for those of you who may be new to this type of stuff, cup and handle. Let me take off this magnet tool. This would be your cup. This would be your handle. So, you know, the anticipation is if the price breaks down out of the handle, you're probably going to see a large move to the downside with continuation. So, you know, again, just keep an eye on it. It doesn't really mean anything until that handle breaks. Just like a head and shoulders, you know, it can look like a head and shoulders pattern all day long, but until it breaks the neckline, it's not really an actionable play. You're trying to anticipate something before it's happened. And just because the chart pattern indicates a specific outcome does not mean that it's, you know, by any means a guarantee. So anyway, a little bit of a cup and handle here, setting up on ES, but again, nothing to I would say, be overly concerned about just yet, unless it starts to, you know, look like it's going to break back below 45.17, 25, you know, somewhere in this neighborhood, 45.05 to 45.17. If we start losing that as support, I think that that's going to constitute a break of even the most bullish, you know, final stand trend that is inside of this handle that could take us down lower. So again, kind of trapped between supply and demand. The other thing that's interesting to me is that we have, you know, moving averages overhead here with the 200 and the 333, 200 crossing below the 333 here. Clearly the last few 4-hour candles have been rejecting this cleanly, especially this one right here. That's a great confluence setup to take puts. As you can see, if you caught puts there or shorted ES there, you know, you're looking for a move from 45, 44, you know, down as low as within that same 4-hour candle, 45.24. So 20-point move on ES is nothing to sneeze about. It $50 a point, or if you're trading micros, $5 a point. So yeah, so we've got that kind of happening overhead. That being said, you know, we do have some things on the bullish side. We're holding the 16 WMA. Overall, Neptune's still showing pretty bullish here on ES in the markets, when we've got the 100 SMA curling up, maybe trying to add some support underneath. So definitely a mixed bag. Looks like a recipe for some potentially bigger picture chop, especially if we don't get out of this sort of 45.47 to 45.17 range. This whole area right here really kind of needs to break for us to see, see any kind of real continuation to the upside or the downside, in my opinion. So that's just my 2 cents based on the charts of where the market stands right now. For those of you who are new to listening in to these, please don't forget that we do have a chat section of this live stream channel. So if you're in the live stream channel where you can see my screen and all that, you'll see a little word bubble in the top right hand corner. If you click that, that'll open up the chat. That's where you can see any trade plans or anything like that I post. What's up, Navy Plum? Good morning. You can see where Navy Plum just wished me a good morning, and good morning to you as well, sir. You can also request tickers. What tickers do you want me to take a look at? We'll do some trade plans for those right after I recap the trade plans that we worked on last week and over the weekend. N1R4J. I'm going to call you N1. N1 wants hood. Cup of Magic wants to take another look at Mirage. Okay, what's up, Mirage? Oh, okay. Yeah, I got you. What's up, Mirage? Got it. AMD, yeah, we can take a look at that. That one, I think I even mentioned in the chat yesterday. That was a kind of weird how that's been moving. The chart and the price action just looks very strange to me, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it. And yeah, we can try to get to Broadcom, AVGO as well. All right, so let's just recap our existing plans that we did over the weekend and tail end of last week. Amazon, I talked about this one several times in the chat. I also personally traded this, even though I did break some of my rules in trading it, and the biggest of which is that, you know, I try not to get into any trades where, you know, days where I'm just potentially going to get tied up in a meeting in case things don't go the way that, you know, I'm expecting them to. But here's what I really liked about this Amazon entry and why I was willing to take an entry sort of shortly after open. You know, I was watching this trend line. It was on my chart. If you noticed that I posted on Monday morning, because I accidentally somehow managed to copy over the Amazon trade plan with a double duplicate of the Microsoft trade plan that I did over the weekend. But breaking out over this trend line that Amazon had been in for quite a while, pre-market, was kind of my key to look at this sort of early going into the open. And I didn't, you know, honestly, I normally, and I'm not saying that this is great a great behavior for me to reinforce in any way, shape, or form. But we already had the break of this trend line. We were holding it as support going into the open. So shortly after the open, pretty much as soon as we started to print above our entry there at 139.29, I jumped into some 140 calls for this week. And they moved, as you can see, crazy fast. So not only would I have hesitated to alert because I was sort of breaking a rule and getting into a trade at a time of day where I don't necessarily have where I don't normally take trades, I guess, because I don't even really track my success rate to that detail, although I should. But anyway, I was kind of breaking one of my rules, and it just moved too fast for me to post an alert. So I kind of just hope that people, again, as I post these trade plans, probably one of the best things that you can do. I've talked about this on previous live streams as well. At the very least, go ahead and set alerts on your call entry level, right? So I'd have something set up like this, crossing up, horizontal line once per bar, so I want to get notified more than once if we get a few fake outs before it actually does get the push I want. I call it Amazon call trade plan. I put something like Amazon calls down here. Notifications, I just get my app notifications because that goes to my cell phone and my Apple Watch. So if I hit create on that, anytime a 15-minute candle crosses over that line, I'm going to know, hey, it's probably a good time to take a look at Amazon. So, as we're doing these trade plans, make sure, excuse me, make sure that you guys are putting these levels on your own charts and that you're setting alerts on these levels, especially the key break levels to get into calls or to get into puts. That way, to go look at the chart, make sure you've got some kind of confirmation that it's good to proceed. And once you do, go ahead and open your trade, and then what I do, and then what I do after I've gotten into the trade is I then set alerts at PT1, PT2, PT3, and set an alert at my stop loss average down level. That way you've got, you don't have to sit there and maybe babysit the chart if you're looking at other trades, if you're at work or whatever the case might be. I think it's just a smart way to kind of keep yourself informed. So posted this one. We got the breakout over 139.29. Got the breakout of the trend line, like I said. And what do we get? We got 1, 2, 3, and pretty much our third price target was the high of the day yesterday. So this one we couldn't have designed this, written this up, prepared for this any better than we were. I mean, that's literally like the max move on the day that you could have possibly gotten out of those calls, and it worked out very well. So congrats if you followed the Amazon trade plan. I know a few of you did. That messaged me either in the chat or DMs. AMD, this is one that Cup of Magic just asked for, and we can circle back to this or just talk about where this trade plan sits. This is, like I said, a weird one. I just was really surprised by how this price action has played out on it. We got this hard drop all the way down below, started tapping this support level here at 103.30, really kind of right after what was probably a pretty good confirmed break here. I mean, we barely got this candle to close below, and then we got this one to open and push down further. I mean, to me, that's starting to look like this is built up as resistance, and we're going to continue to reject down and start to see some of these price targets, but it just kind of chopped, and the whole momentum just froze, went sideways and kind of tightly sideways right on that 103.30 level. I know it was not a key level in the plan, but it was certainly on my chart that I posted. So, make sure you're paying attention to levels, even if I'm not calling them out in the plan, just, in case something weird happens like this. I was also liking, if you did get into puts, potentially taking a stop loss average down somewhere up in this neck of the woods with this 100 SMA confluence with our stop loss average down level from the plan. It kind of fought a little bit through that, and certainly is starting to look, or pretty much a confirmed break of the stop loss level there. But another thing you may have noticed is we have another confluence here with the 200 SMA and this 105.20, or I'm sorry, the 105.57 level. So, again, if you were kind of really paying attention, I'm not expecting anybody to have figured this out, but I hope somebody did if they got pulled into these AMD puts. You get this 200 SMA, which is going to be a stronger moving average, confluence with 105.57. It seems like that is continuing to push us down. We did flip some things bullish, but to me it looks like if we get another break back below 104.06, should be game on. The only thing I would say is maybe lock small profits there at 103.30 if we could test that again, and move your stops to break even on your contracts, just to make sure that you don't get caught in some kind of a repeat of this move. I have a feeling probably what this was this drop was so fast and so abrupt that RSI and some other things sort of just needed to come back into balance, find equilibrium again before AMD could potentially make another leg down. But we'll just have to wait and see. It's sort of back in the no trade zone, but strong confluence of resistance overhead, with the exception of some positive aspects showing here on Neptune. I mean, overall looks a little bit bearish to me, so just keep your eyes on it, and honestly I would say just focus on this trade plan again with maybe that one adjustment of just being a little bit more wary or cautious of 103.30. So share this again just so you guys have it, and again, I wouldn't change this very much from where we're currently sitting, I don't think. Well, I take that back. There could potentially be an early entry here at 106.21, and I play my first target up there at 107.41. So put that in the for what it's worth category. I could see that being a possible entry. If you go after that, I'd use the 105.20 level as your stop loss average down. But honestly, confirmation looks a little stronger, a little better, probably over 107.01 for us to try to continue higher, push to some of those price targets. But overall, I'd be leaning a little bit bearish here on AMD. So that's one that we did over the weekend, as well as Amazon. Microsoft was the other one we did over the weekend. This one did get a break and caught PT1, also found a rejection, is back in the essentially wait and see zone. So Microsoft, keep an eye on this one. Overall, if the market's strong, I think Microsoft has some room to move, and it's sort of been a little bit lagging behind. I also like how it's set up from an indicator standpoint. So back over 336.36, we could find another test of 338.51 that we got yesterday and where we rejected from. So Microsoft trade plan, this one's in the watch list from the weekend. Again, got our breakout, got PT1. Again, whenever you get those, make sure that you're moving your stops up to your entry level, either mental stops or maybe your contract stops up to some kind of break-even small profit, so you don't get stopped out for a loss on your remaining positions. Also, just to be noted, be careful swinging anything unless you got a lot of time on it. But 333 SMA coming up here could add some support. A little bit of a confluence of resistance overhead there, but I think over 336.36 gets us through that resistance, and again, probably another test of at least PT1, if not more. And then Apple with their iPhone and other device event today. What do they call it? Wanderlust or something like that, I think it's called, event. This is one that we talked about on last week's podcast. Did give us a break yesterday. Actually, really not a break, but a retest. So Apple opened up, dumped back down to our call entry level from the plan that we did last week here on Thursday of last week. So broke out, got over PT1, and even got all the way up to PT2 if you took sort of this initial entry back here and closed some at the open being at and above PT2 there. Pulled all the way back to our call entry level. And actually pretty good bounce played out there, PT1 plus, trying to head for PT2, but market closed and still trying to push for that next price target here today. Things overall looking pretty strong, pretty bullish. Like this confluence of support down here at 179.25. If Apple can catch that before their event starts today, and there's an anticipation or a little bit of a lead up to their announcements today. Run up, I should say, to their announcements today. This could be a good buy the dip entry there at 179.25 on Apple. Roku's another one we looked at last week. This is one that I looked at this morning just to get ready for today's live stream. It's been a weird one. We keep getting these fake outs to the downside. This is a little bit of a push to the upside. Definitely looked like a confirmed break, but didn't push high enough to get us to any price targets there. And is trying or is fighting around with this stop loss average down low. Let me just take a look at this on another time frame. So yeah, it's slipping a little bit, and this stuff is now becoming resistance around this 84.23 level. So Roku, I would say I'd be leaning toward the put side of this playing out and watch for another break below 82.87. I think that could potentially start to bring some targets this go around. Yeah, just weird, clean rejection there off of our call entry level here on this day. And that looked like a pretty convincing break to the downside, but it recovered and then had this weird pump and dump here yesterday. So yeah, just be a little bit careful with Roku. It's making some weird moves. Then last but not least, Pfizer downside trade plan is currently in effect. It's rejecting our put entry level. Haven't made it to any price targets yet, but SMAs are now catching up here on the 15 minutes. That's going to add some pressure to the downside. They do potentially have some positive catalysts coming with COVID vaccines and all that starting to ramp back up. But as of right now, we got to stick to the charts and play them where it is. And right now, I'd say so far, Pfizer still looks good for continuation to the downside, as much as that hurts my leap call contracts. I might be looking to open some short-term put hedges against my long-term calls on Pfizer. All right, so that's like all the recaps. I know that was a bunch, so I appreciate y'all's patience. Let's get to some of these new tickers that you guys want me to take a look at, some new trade plans. We just touched on AMD for Cup of Magic. If you have any other specific questions about it, man, please let me know. Let's take a look at Hood for Mirage. All right, Hood is one that I don't believe I have a ton of price levels on. Thought I had some. Maybe not. Also a sketchy extended hours trader. That's weird. I swear I had. Oh, I do. Well, no, that's nothing. Okay, well, we'll start from scratch then. We'll just focus on sort of the recent stuff. So this is probably good learning opportunity for those of you who are trying to kind of get a sense of, okay, I'm interested in this ticker. I want to trade it. What do I do? For me, the very first thing I do with every chart, if it's a naked chart like what we see here, when I say naked chart, it's got essentially no drawings, no technical analysis on the chart whatsoever. First thing I do is I start with drawing my support and resistance levels, and I start with my higher time frames that I like to draw on and work down to the lower time frames I like to draw on. Let's see, I think there's something here. This is an interesting level. It might be more of a daily level though. I want to take a look at that. We're not convinced on that one yet, just because I'm only seeing support on it right there. Yeah, that's a pretty good level. Like that for a weekly level. Yeah, it's probably worth noting. Let's see what else we got. Interesting rejection here. I'm finding some resistance at that same spot. Also see a very weak but little bit of a support touch on this. Probably right about there. That's where that level would be. Make sure this line is. So I'm going to tighten this up real quick. All right. Let's see. Maybe one more weekly level up here, so now we're going to watch. This is pretty iffy, but I do like this attempt at support on the way down, right at about that price level, and then this clean rejection once we got below it. Typically, I want at least 3 touches, but we don't have a lot of price action to use to pull data from to figure out levels at certain spots with hood here. There's definitely a level here too. I think there's something here, but probably a daily level. All right, that probably does it for our weekly levels. They're going to be anywhere within our range. Actually, I don't. Just the daily candlestick chart. So let's take a look at these kind of question mark levels, the pink ones. I'm going to go ahead and confirm those as either daily or weekly levels. This definitely looks like a daily level to me. And this one, yeah, it's pretty good. Also mark this as sort of the current all-time low. All right, so let's take a look at some levels that we just didn't already have on watch now. Something there. And here. That's actually fairly easy one to chart. The levels kind of stick out to me a little bit on this one, which is nice. I'll take it. The easier to chart, the more plans we get through. It's a little bit. Anything I'm missing? This looks interesting. So is this. That's not enough there to do anything with that. Not convinced about that one. We'll look at it on another time frame. There's a level I was eyeballing there for a second that was iffy. I'm not sure. I don't want to assign it to a time frame that I just can't truly see it on. It's another interesting quick flip of support to resistance at that level. All right, let's check our 4-hour levels, and then I think we'll be good to plan this one out. Even though typically I would go through some more with where hood is currently at as far as its current share price. I think the bigger picture levels are going to be the ones we're going to focus on. Four-hour level. And of course, as I'm doing this, just to mention it, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put those in the chat as well. Happy to answer those, see what I can do to help you guys figure out your own approach to building a trading system, something that is consistent and repeatable. That is what we are looking for. It's almost like being a chef. You want all your food that goes out to be consistent and the same experience as long as you're executing correctly. A, B, and B. I will see if I can get to A, B, and B. We've got several stacked up, and we're also probably got about 10 minutes-ish left. So I might be able to get through one more trade plan. Don't think I'm going to get to AMD. But if you want to come back on Thursday and drop that one in advance, or kind of early into the live stream before I get sort of a bunch of requests in, that I will try to do and get to the next one. Or for those of you, because it seems like my form, I mean, it's been okay, but I feel like I used to get a lot more form fills when I was doing member selected tickers back in the day. And for those of you who are listening in that aren't familiar with what I'm even talking about, at the close of trading each Friday, or pretty close to the close of trading each Friday, I will post a Google form for you guys to vote on tickers that you want me to do kind of a deeper dive, when I'm just on my own and I've got all the time to concentrate and figure things out in the world. I do member selected tickers, so I post a Google form. You guys can vote on what tickers you want me to take a look at. I have the top 3 tickers that, as far as how many votes each ticker gets, the top 3 I do trade plans for, and I post those Sunday evening typically. So that's where we got, what do we do this past weekend? AMD, Microsoft, and Amazon. Amazon being so far the big money maker out of those. So when I post those Google forms each Friday, make sure that you vote for, I'd say, around noon on Sunday on that Google form. Otherwise, your vote will not get counted, and I erase or wipe out, delete any existing responses between each Friday. So when I go to post it again this Friday, I'll delete all the existing responses and we start from scratch. So again, make sure that you're keeping your eye out. I post that form in the watch list, like I said, Friday, pretty close to end of the trading day on Fridays, unless I've got like a crazy busy weekend and I'm not 100% sure I'm going to have the time to dedicate to it, then I just don't post the form. But if you see the form, please participate. I want to know what you guys are interested in, and sometimes you guys help me find some really great trade setups that I probably wouldn't have seen otherwise. So you give me the idea and I'll make sure we've got a good plan to execute. So teamwork makes the dream work approach. All right. I think we're getting pretty close. Let's see where we're at. Man, I'm sorry. Got kind of down into the weeds with some of these price levels that are older, but this is also just not really establishing a lot in the way of support and resistance throughout this area. There's something interesting here where we made this recent rejection. I want to check this level out. I kind of have an area that I just want to make sure I've filled in all the gaps. Think, yeah, I think we've got something there. Got something here. And this is the one that I was questionable on. It's probably a little bit lower. Right there. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I have this weekly level. It's a bit high. Just want to see one thing. I may put that right back where we had it. I just want to check this real quick. Because I think that was one that we drew off minimal number of touches. Yeah, I think that could be a little bit to the downside. All right, so let's take a look at some indicators on this. Let's go to the hourly chart. Let's see where things are sitting right now. All right, so decent amount of support. I kind of like waiting for this 1054 level to break to play this to the downside. Question is stop loss. I think 1086. The weekly level. Looks like if we can get over it, we can push higher. Yeah. So I wouldn't want to be holding puts over 1086. To the downside targets, let's real quick. I know where all the support indicators are cleared out. This is an interesting little bounce here, but it's going to make our risk reward upside down on this put trade plan, which concerns me a little bit. I just can't play that, justify playing that, trade that tight. Let me take a look at one more thing. 200's right there too. All right, this is, again, just be careful on this setup because the risk reward is not ideal. If you're going to take this, I'd say start small, and you can add, I would say, to the position below PT1, average up if you get to it and it breaks below, but also great spot to maybe book some profits, then hold some contracts, and then see if it breaks to add to the position, do an average up. And then move your contract stops to break even. That's kind of the one caveat I'd make with this downside plan, because the risk reward is definitely not set up the way that I would want it to be personally. Below that, just trying to see if 1001 is really going to catch any support, if it's more like yeah, it could. And below 1001, we do have this one candle that gets close to this 4-hour level, but one candle is not what I'm going to determine a trade plan on. I think really our next level down is closer to this. They're at 965. So this would be our targets 1, 2, 3 to the downside. To the upside, there's gap to fill up here too. Big gap to fill up there near this level. That's definitely going to be our first price target. The question is, what's our entry? Yeah, I don't want to wait for this. I mean, there's possible earlier entries. I mean, like potentially right here at 1116. My concern is that that puts PT1 at 1136, and again gives us like an upside down risk reward. But I think if we are willing to be a little bit more patient for upside, what I would do so I'd run it like this. 1136 entry, PT1 at 1182, PT2 up here at this gap fill. Big move on PT2 potentially to 1233. Then we do have another gap to fill up to there. 1276. Could start rejecting it at 1256, but at that point, no sense for us not to try for a little bit more profit on those. Also, this is one that, just because of the low price per share, definitely pick up a few hundred shares on this and trade it with shares versus doing options and not have to worry about theta and all that noise. Would tie up some more buying power, but definitely kind of puts you in a easier, more comfortable, you've got more control position. versus doing this with options, but totally your call either way. So here is the Hood, Robin the Hood trade plan. So for Hood, what we're looking for is a break of 1136 with targets at 1182, 1233, and 1276 to play the upside with a stop loss average down at 1103. To the downside, we're waiting for a break of 1054 to play targets at 1027, 999, and 965 with a stop loss average down at 1086. Don't forget to go kind of small if you do as a starter position on the downside. Our risk reward is skewed negatively, in my opinion, as far as it's below 1-to-1. If you compare our entry level to our stop loss and our entry level to our first price target. So again, I would start small, take some profits here, and then if we break below, add back to your position, and continue to ride down, average up on it essentially. All right, with that, we are 15 minutes away from the from market open here, so I'm gonna take that time to go ahead and get the SPY plan ready for you guys for today. I hope you all have enjoyed this live stream. I hope you'll be back with me Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is our next session, the last session for this week. So with that, I'm going to hit you guys with our good friend 007 dropping our FOMO live stream motto. That's right. Plan your trades and trade your plans. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will see you in the chats, and I will see you back here Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you all soon.